But it came with a price, and he labored, and he deserved it. He suffered a lot. He was the person more than any other individual responsible for the fall of communism. It wasn't Ronald Reagan, it wasn't Gorbachev, it was Karol Wojtyła, who worked with all leaders of the world. And the leaders of the world knew it, especially the evil ones.
Bless the Lord, O my soul, blessed art thou, Lord.
Thanks for tuning in to Armor of God again. And I wasn't planning to release a super long video this time, but still I hope that you're going to learn something from this one as well. So what I'd like to do now is start this video with this clip of Father Joseph Iannuzzi with you. Please listen to this.
Whenever there is an outpouring of God's love, there is also, shortly thereafter, an expression of hatred on the part of Satan. Satan often expresses his hatred toward God through individuals, through events, through sickness, through misfortune, and so forth. In other words, the antithesis to freedom is slavery, which comes by ways we do not expect. Sometimes, when we speak of Satan, of course, who follows God in trying to undo what God does, we are invariably addressing his instruments. Admittedly, not all who are used by Satan, whether they're events or misfortunes or individuals, are aware of what Satan is doing. Satan oftentimes uses individuals without their awares. And whenever God does something great in the history of mankind, whether it's creation, redemption, sanctification, Satan tries to undo these great deeds, these great works of God, through individuals who, to their unawares, are cooperating with him. Now, does this mean they're evil? Not necessarily, not deliberately, but the effects are. The intentions may be, let's say, unaware of the evil ends they are obtaining, and therefore their actions are not deliberate. Nevertheless, it is wise for us to be apprised of how Satan works. Whenever we, for example, watch sports, whatever sport it is, we look at the two opposing teams or individuals, and we think while we're watching them what each one is going to do based upon what knowledge they have of each other's skills, talents, potentials, and so forth. Well, similarly, when we are engaged in God's service, it is wise to know the opponent's playbook. Therefore, it is wise for us to know how Satan operates, even through unsuspecting individuals.
And since it's going to be the Feast of the Divine Mercy soon, I would also like to take this opportunity to share this one from Father Iannuzzi as well.
Now, while sacramental confession takes away all of the penitent sins, it does not take away the punishment due to such sins. Therefore, in confession, a priest will impose a penance that serves to expiate here on earth part of the temporal punishment due to the sins confessed. All punishment due to the sins confessed that is not expiated here on earth is expiated after death in purgatory. But one may receive a plenary indulgence, whereby all punishment is expiated with the sin. And this happens the first Sunday after Easter, that is preceded by a novena on Good Friday. That was composed under the dictation of our Lord to St. Faustina Kowalska. And this novena is very instrumental in disposing us to receive all the graces that come from Divine Mercy Sunday. In order to obtain this indulgence, our Lord asks us to do works of mercy. Remember, Faustina was in a cloister, and he told her there are 3 ways by which you can prepare for this novena by works of mercy: by prayer, by counsel, and by action. By doing good to others, by counseling them, by praying for them. And then, of course, by going to confession before or on the day of, or within 20 days of the novena, of the Feast Day of Divine Mercy, and receiving communion on that day, beginning on the evening before, Saturday night. Pope John Paul II received this plenary indulgence and a few hours later died, went straight to heaven. Pope John Paul II labored more than any other pontiff in the church history, and he not only rehabilitated the writings of St. Faustina, but he made her the feast day of the Divine Mercy a universal feast in the church, and in response, as a reward, God called him to himself on the feast day of Divine Mercy. Talk about a gift. And on that same day he died. Here you have a pope. He's an athlete. He plays soccer, skis, goes camping, goes canoeing, goes fishing, takes groups of scouts with him, dies on Mercy Sunday, goes straight to heaven. Gee, I want to live that life too. I understand it, but it came with a price. And he labored and he deserved it. He suffered a lot. He was the person more than any other individual responsible for the fall of communism. It wasn't Ronald Reagan, it wasn't Gorbachev, it was Karol Wojtyła, who worked with all leaders of the world. And the leaders of the world knew it, especially the evil ones, and that's why an attempt was made on his life in St. Peter's Square. He was struck with 3 poisoned bullets, grazing his organs. And the Blessed Mother of Fatima saved him, and he went to the Cova de Hira in Portugal and brought the bullet with him to thank her for saving his life. In fact, had he been shot, we would not have a Feast of Divine Mercy today, because it was after his assassination attempt that he instituted this feast.
And as we have just celebrated Easter and the victory of Christ over sin and death, we would like to share this one about the fall of the angels that we shared with you before, sort of like revision. So I hope you don't mind us doing this, and thanks for being here, everyone.
I saw the fall of the angels, the creation of the earth and paradise, that of Adam and Eve, and the fall of man. I thought everyone saw this as we do other things around us, and I spoke of it freely to my parents, brothers, sisters, and playmates. I had these visions by night and by day, in the fields, in the house, sitting or walking, and when engaged in all kinds of employments. One day at school, I happened to speak of the resurrection, describing it differently from what we had been taught. I felt certain that everyone knew it just as I did. I did not dream that there was anything peculiar in my account of it. But the children gazed at me in wonder and laughed, while the master reproved me gravely and warned me not to indulge such imaginations. My visions continued, but I kept them to myself. I was like a child looking at a picture book, explaining the pictures in its own way, but not thinking much about their meaning. They represented the saints or scenes from sacred history, sometimes in one way, sometimes in another. They produced no change in my faith. They were merely my picture book. I gazed upon them quietly and always with the good thought, all to the greater glory of God. In spiritual things, I have never put faith in anything but what God the Lord has revealed to the Catholic Church for our belief, whether it be written or not. I have never believed so firmly what I have seen in vision. I looked upon the latter as I devoutly regard, here and there, the various cribs at Christmas. I feel no annoyance at their difference in style, for in each I adore the same dear little infant Jesus. And so it is with those pictures of the creation of heaven, earth, and man. In them I adore God the Lord, the Almighty Creator of heaven and earth. I saw spreading out before me a boundless, resplendent space, above which floated a globe of light shining like a sun. I felt that it was the unity of the Trinity. In my own mind, I named it the One Voice, and I watched it producing its effects. Below the globe of light arose concentric circles of radiant choirs of spirits, wondrously bright and strong and beautiful. This second world of light floated like a sun under that higher sun. These choirs came forth from the higher sun, as if born of love. Suddenly I saw some of them pause, wrapped in the contemplation of their own beauty. They took complacency in self. They sought the highest beauty in self. They thought but of self. They existed but in self. At first all were lost in contemplation, out of self, but soon some of them rested in self. At that instant I saw this part of the glittering choirs hurled down, their beauty sunk in darkness, while the others, thronging quickly together, filled up their vacant places. And now the good angels occupied a smaller space. I did not see them leaving their places to pursue and combat the fallen choirs. The bad angels rested in self and fell away, while those that did not follow their example thronged into their vacant places. All this was instantaneous. Then rising from below, I saw a dark disk, the future abode of the fallen spirits. I saw that they took possession of it against their will. It was much smaller than the sphere from which they had fallen, and they appeared to me to be closely crowded together. I saw the fall of the angels in my childhood, and ever after, day and night, I dreaded their influence. I thought they must do great harm to the earth, for they are always around it. It is well they have no bodies, else they would obscure the light of the sun. We should see them floating around us like shadows. Immediately after the fall, I saw the spirits in the shining circles humbling themselves before God. They did homage to him and implored pardon for the fallen angels. At that moment I saw a movement in the luminous sphere in which God dwelt. Until then it had been motionless and, as I felt, awaiting that prayer. After that action on the part of the angelic choirs, I felt assured that they would remain steadfast, that they would never fall away. It was made known to me that God, in his judgment, in his eternal sentence against the rebel angels, decreed the reign of strife until their vacant thrones are filled. But to fill those thrones seemed to me almost impossible, for it would take so long. The strife will, however, be upon the earth. There will be no strife above, for God has so ordained. After I had received this assurance, I could no longer sympathize with Lucifer, for I saw that he had cast himself down by his own free, wicked will. Neither could I feel such anger against Adam. On the contrary, I felt great sympathy for him because I thought, it has been thus ordained. Immediately after the prayer of the faithful choirs and that movement in the Godhead, I saw below me, not far from and to the right of the world of shadows, another dark globe arise. I fixed my eyes steadily upon it. I beheld it as if in movement, growing larger and larger, as it were, bright spots breaking out upon it and encircling it like luminous bands. Here and there they stretched out into brighter, broader plains. And at that moment I saw the form of the land setting boundaries to the water. In the bright places I saw a movement as of life, and on the land I beheld vegetation springing forth and myriads of living things arising. Child that I was, I fancied the plants were moving about. Up to this moment there was only a gray light like the sunrise, like early morn breaking over the earth, like nature awakening from sleep. And now all other parts of the picture faded. The sky became blue, the sun burst forth, but I saw only one part of the earth lighted up and shining. That spot was charming, glorious, and I thought, there's paradise. While these changes were going on upon the dark globe, I saw, as it were, a streaming forth of light out of that highest of all the spheres, the God sphere, that sphere in which God dwelt. It was as if the sun rose higher in the heavens, as if bright morning were awakening. It was the first morning. No created being had any knowledge of it, and it seemed as if all those created things had been there forever in their unsullied innocence. As the sun rose higher, I saw the plants and trees growing larger and larger. The waters became clearer and holier. Colors grew purer and brighter. All was unspeakably charming. Creation was not then as it is now. Plants and flowers and trees had other forms. They are wild and misshapen now compared with what they were, for all things are now thoroughly degenerate. When looking at the plants and fruits of our gardens, apricots, for instance, which in southern climes are, as I have seen, so different from ours, so large, magnificent, and delicious, I often think, as miserable as are our fruits compared with those of the south, are the latter when compared with the fruits of paradise. I saw there roses, white and red, and I thought them symbols of Christ's passion and our redemption. I saw also palm trees and others, high and spreading, which cast their branches afar, as if forming roofs. Before the sun appeared, earthly things were puny, but in his beams they gradually increased in size until they attained full growth. The trees did not stand close together. Of all plants, at least of the largest, I saw only one of each kind, and they stood apart like seedlings set out in a garden bed. Vegetation was luxuriant, perfectly green, of a species pure, sound, and exempt from decay. Nothing appeared to receive or to need the attention of an earthly gardener. I thought, how is it that all is so beautiful, since as yet there are no human beings? Ah, sin has not yet entered. There has been no destruction, no rending asunder. All is sound, all is holy. As yet there has been no healing, no repairing. All is pure, nothing has needed purification. The plain that I beheld was gently undulating and covered with vegetation. In its center rose a fountain, from all sides of which flowed streams, crossing one another and mingling their waters. I saw in them first a slight movement as of life, and then I saw living things. After that I saw, here and there among the shrubs and bushes, animals peeping forth as if just roused from sleep. They were very different from those of a later day, not at all timorous. Compared with those of our own time, they were almost as far their superior as men are superior to beasts. They were pure and noble, nimble and joyous. Words cannot describe them. I was not familiar with many of them, for I saw very few like those we have now. I saw the elephant, the stag, the camel, and even the unicorn. This last I saw also in the ark. It is remarkably gentle and affectionate, not so tall as a horse, its head more rounded in shape. I saw no asses, no insects, no wretched, loathsome creatures. These last I have always looked upon as a punishment of sin. But I saw myriads of birds, and heard the sweetest notes, as in the early morning. There were no birds of prey that I could see, nor did I hear any animals bellowing. Paradise is still in existence, but it is utterly impossible for man to reach it. I have seen that it still exists in all its splendor. It is high above the earth and in an oblique direction from it, like the dark globe of the angels fallen from heaven.
Well then, that will be all for the video this time. And as always, thank you so much for taking the time to be here with us, and hopefully all of you have learned so much from this video. And remember, if ever you have any feedback or suggestion, please let us know in the comments below. Anyway, if you like what we do and you'd like to support us, I left a link to our PayPal donation in the description box below. And from the bottom of my heart, thank you so much for your continuous support, contributions, and prayers. And until the next one, thanks again for watching and may God bless you.